Jasper and Banff National Parks were definitely high on our list of places we wanted to stop, and we figured on the way back home was the best time to do it with the routes we were taking. We'd been hearing about the Jasper fire for quite a while on our trip, and that things were still closed, and we'd been checking the status of the national park several times while we were up in Alaska before we started headed back down, just to see if the icefield parkway and the highway we wanted to take would even be open with all the things that had been closed down because of it. As we started coming into the Jasper area, we started seeing burnt trees here and there, and it's always interesting to me. I've been around wildfires. I was a firefighter in the Marine Corps, and fire is just a very unpredictable phenomena. It will burn things to ashes in one area and leave other areas almost devoid of any damage at all. Just really very peculiar as to how it decides what it's going to do and how it's going to do it. I definitely respect the firefighters that go out and fight these extremely large fires. The Jasper area fire actually started July 22nd of 2024. There were several locations that several small fires started around the town of Jasper, and they quickly grew and connected. And just a very short period of time after it started, there was already over 6,000 hectares or 14,900 acres just in the first few days that were involved. We actually went through the city of Jasper. We had to stop and get gas, and it was very sad to see the amount of damage done in town. The town of Jasper lost 358 structures in the fire. That's like over a third of the town's structures were all lost in a single fire. This is beautiful and devastating at the same time. The fire damage is immense, but it is still very beautiful country. It was still amazing to see all the fire damage and to realize that only one person lost their lives during the whole thing. It was a firefighter who was actively working on the fire. Our hearts and prayers go out to all of the affected people from this fire. The damage done to Jasper, just so tragic that those things have to happen. I was looking at some fire maps, and the fire spread from Malign Canyon all the way to Athabasca Falls. According to fire information, the fire actually grew up to 32,722 hectares or 80,860 acres. On our trip, we knew that parts of Highway 16 and a good portion of Highway 93, also known as the Icefield Parkway, was closed before we got into the area. So that's what we were kind of keeping an eye out for. So glad that they actually reopened those stretches of highway we were going to drive through. Even as tragic as the fire and the damage the fire caused was, this is an immensely beautiful location. The videos and the pictures just do not do it justice. To be there in that country and see these amazing sights and enjoy the views and just be a part of it was just amazing. We actually did see a herd of elk on our way out of Jasper on the Icefield Parkway. And again, just beautiful, beautiful locations. We really, really enjoyed that. Tangle Creek Falls. This was a stop that quickly became one of Sonia and I's favorite places. This was one of our favorite waterfalls of all time, and it was just a gorgeous stop. The various steps the waterfall has, cascading over the rocks, the free falls in certain locations of the falls, the rapids in other areas, the overall height. It's just an amazing waterfall. We thoroughly enjoyed it, and really had a lot of fun there. Took a lot of pictures, got a lot of video, and I know it's an impossibility, but I would love to build something like this in my backyard. It's just so peaceful to be able to stand next to something like that, just to hear the calming sound of the water rushing over the rocks. It's just wonderful. And as we continued up the highway, we came across the Columbia Icefield Skywalk. You cannot stop there. You have to take a tour bus to actually go to it. And what it is a glass floor, U-shaped walkway over the canyon. And as one who suffers from fear of heights, I cannot do something like that. I know for a lot of people it's a real neat experience, and for those folks, more power to you. We didn't stop because, of course, we couldn't. You have to take a tour bus there. So we continued on. And I was just continued to be awestruck at the scenery. I've heard several other YouTubers talk about the Icefield Parkway, all the glaciers you get to see, just the views, the change in terrain from going over relatively smooth, flat valley floors to climbing some pretty steep passes on the roadway. It's just beautiful. It is extremely clear as you drive through and take the scenery in and everything else that the national park has to offer, why it has become a national park in Canada. I think Jasper and Banff are combined one of the, if not the biggest national park in Alberta, and it is just a gorgeous area. If you do get a chance to get up there and travel the Icefield Parkway, I highly recommend it. It was such a neat experience. We didn't see a whole lot of wildlife, but I think the previous fires that had just come through the area were the biggest reason for that. Though we did see that herd of elk as we came out of Jasper. But just a beautiful area. Really enjoyed the drive. It was really spectacular driving through this area, and it was really interesting to see the differences in the geological formations of the mountains around us, from areas where it looked almost sandy or gravelly to mountains that the layers are fairly level and all nice and organized, and others where it looks like two tectonic plates just rammed each other and the mountains angle and the layers are at angles as much as 45 degrees or more, to just so many different features and the way the rocks looked. And to me, when I looked at this and look at the differences in formations and some of the mountains, the layers actually bent, it just, to me, demonstrates the power of the flood. Just that whole changing of the whole Earth's surface through a global flood like that is just, it's amazing and eye-opening to be in areas like this in the Rockies, and you can see so much variation in the rock strata and the physical features you can see, and it just speaks to me like that a lot driving through here and looking at the area. Just so amazing, so beautiful. God is just such an artist, and to think this is a fallen world. And then we made it to Lake Louise. This is something Sonia has been wanting to do. She'd been here a long time ago, and it was really neat to be here with her again. Is it cold?
It's very cold.
Well, it's glacier water.
Yes. I just figured.
Wow. Of course, for me, it was my first time here. But it was still neat to share this experience with her and come back to a location that she hasn't been to in many, many years. The glacier water just had a real neat bluish green look to it. And yes, it was very, very cold. I put my hands in it as well. I have no idea how much it costs to stay at that hotel, but my guess is I need to make a little bit more than I make right now to be able to afford that. Such a beautiful location. I'm glad we made it up to this lake and were able to experience this. Question of the day. Where are we?
We're at Lake Louise.
In Banff National Park?
Yes.
You haven't been here since you were 7.
It was just a couple years ago.
Has it changed much?
I couldn't tell you. I don't remember that much about it.
One thing I will say, if you decide to drive up in your vehicle to see the lake like we did, be prepared for some steep parking fees. It was a little over $37 for us to park there, and it's a timed parking. We could only be there for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, if I remember right. And then it was back on the road to see more sights that were out here in Banff. Then it was on to Lake Minnewanka Scenic Loop. It's another loop not too far out of Banff. It goes by Two Jack Lake and Lake Minnewanka. Ironically, Lake Minnewanka is a man-made lake inside the national park. We did notice some differences from American national parks and Canadian national parks, because there was a ski resort also within Banff National Park, and I don't think that's something you see much at all, if at all, in American national parks. It's like severely frowned upon to do any type of recreational construction like that in there, but they are here in Canada. This is Two Jack Lake. It's a nice stop, pretty lake. It's just amazing to me, the watercolors that you see up in these glacier-fed areas. Some lakes are very clear and very blue. Others have kind of a green, misty tint to them. Just amazing to go to each body of water and see the differences. Had a lot of fun on this trip. Really enjoyed Jasper and Banff National Parks. Our stay at Lake Louise Hard-Sided Campground was an enjoyable stay. You can see our previous video for that campground and the stay we had there. Just amazed at God's creation and His artistry work on all this that we've seen during this trip. It was well worth the time driving through, and thoroughly enjoyed the Icefield Parkway, thoroughly enjoyed both national parks, and had a lot of fun seeing them. As I said earlier, our hearts and prayers go out to those affected by the wildfires in Jasper. Hope for a speedy recovery. And just can't thank you all enough for spending time out of your busy days and busy schedules to watch our videos. Thanks for coming along, and we'll see you on the next adventure.